All right, what's up, everybody? It is super early in the morning on Friday. I'm getting ready to fly up to Cincinnati to go pick up a car for my brother. So I'm pretty excited about this. So I've been waiting for this weekend for 2 weeks now. So I'm gonna go catch a plane, fly up to Cincinnati, and drive my car back. While I'm up there, I'm gonna replace the intake manifold, the high pressure fuel pump, and the fuel injector seals. So I'm going to show how to do all that, but I'm also going to show the car when I go pick it up. So hope y'all enjoy. All right, guys, so here's the car that is new to me. It's obviously not a new car, but it's new to me. And it was in a wreck. It's got a rebuilt title. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to drive the dog shit out of it. But it's really clean. All the interior looks really nice. Manual transmission. So it's got a few blemishes on it, but nothing major. So yeah, drive this sucker back to Georgia and take her from there. But I'm gonna do some work replacing the high pressure fuel pump, the fuel injector seals, and the intake manifold. I'll show that here in just a second. All right, guys, so first things first, you need to disconnect the vent tube from the intake manifold to the top of the valve cover. You do that, you just squeeze these sides of this and it springs it out, and then you pull it off. You gotta disconnect the electrical connector here, and then pop this, because this is clipped on right here. Just pop that off and move it out of your way, because you need to unbolt this bracket right here. You need to unbolt the throttle body. You need to disconnect this. I think that's the evap line. And then disconnect this sensor because the wire runs over top of the intake manifold. We're gonna have to disconnect this, disconnect the fuel line, disconnect this, and then everything, and then take the bolts out of the intake. So I'm gonna keep working on this. As I take stuff off, I'll pick back up. All right, so I removed the intake, the intercooler to the intake tube. So it's just two roll clamps. Unscrew those, take those off. Now I can get to all the T30 bolts that are holding the throttle body in and take the throttle body off. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove this once I get the throttle body off. All right, so I'm going to approach removing this a little bit different than I normally would, because I'm working at my brother's house. He doesn't have the tools that I have. It's very difficult to get to the hard line down there without a regular 17mm wrench. So what I'm gonna do, I disconnected the main inlet fuel line, disconnected the sensor for it. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the bolts, the two triple square bolts. There's one here and then one on the bottom down there, and pull the intake manifold. And I'm gonna pull all of it together, and then I'll separate it when I get it out. I don't know how it's gonna work when I'm putting it back in. I may have to go down to the store and get a 17mm, but I'll figure it out then. All right, everybody, so these are the bolts that are holding the high pressure fuel pump in. They are triple squares, but it's a weird size. It's a 9mm triple square. So what I wound up doing was using a T50, because I don't have all my tools here. I'm trying to get it to focus on that. So there, you can see that's a T50, and it won't rotate when it's on the T50. So that's what I took it out with. I actually was able to get in there and disconnect the 17mm nut on the bottom of the fuel pump. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the fuel pump before I pull the intake manifold. So I'm gonna pull the lower bolt. I only pulled the top bolt, so I'm gonna pull the lower bolt and pull that out. All right, so there is the high pressure fuel pump removed from the vehicle. And then there is a cam follower down inside of here. I'm gonna pull it out and check it. I actually ordered a new cam follower for this thing because I didn't know if this had the flat or the roller. It's got the roller, so I'm not gonna use it. Send it back and get my money back for it. But some of these engines have a flat cam follower in here. That motherfucker's hot. Some of these have a flat cam follower in here and it doesn't have this roller on there. If it has the roller, it's already been upgraded. So I'm not gonna use my new one. I'm gonna leave that with my brother, or I'm gonna return it because my brother still has 2 more of these cars. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in, but this thing has a keyway that it has to line up with so that it can fall onto the camshaft correctly. And then you can see down in there, that's the cam lobe that it runs off of. So what I need to do is I'm actually gonna have to rotate the crank so that I can get that flat, so I can get the pump to push all the way in. If it's got 3 lobes on there, and if any of those lobes are sitting out towards the cam follower, you can't get the pump to sit in there. So you need to roll a crankshaft, turn the motor over until you get the flat right there in that opening. But you should be able to see it right there. So right there, down at the bottom, you can see it's protruding a little bit, so I need to rotate it so that it'll be flat all the way up and down. But I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna continue taking the intake manifold off, and I'll get the intake manifold off before I put the new high pressure fuel pump back in. All right, so once you get all the bolts out of the intake manifold, you do have to remove the oil filter in order to get enough room for this sensor to get past it. And that's the sensor for the intake manifold flap. This thing was really dirty when I first pulled it off. I've already wiped it down. I gotta wipe it down again, but you can see how gross this thing was. But you've also got these little plates in here. And I always take these out and clean them and try to wipe out the intake manifold in the head, or not the intake manifold, but the intake ports on the head, so I can clean all that sludge out of there before I put it back together. Now, when you pull this out, your high pressure fuel injectors will come out with it. Sometimes they stay in the head, sometimes they come out and stay in the intake manifold. I only had one that came out and stayed in the head, so I had to pull it out after I got the intake manifold off. So now I'm going to switch all this over to the new intake manifold, and I'll bolt it back in. I'm going to replace all the seals on the fuel injectors, and we'll go from there. But I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect these fuel injectors, get the fuel rail out of here, get all this wiring and everything off of here, switch it over to the new intake manifold, and then I'll continue cleaning everything up. All right, guys, so I'm working on replacing these upper seals on the injectors. You can see these two still have them on there. I just took that one off, and what I do is I just take a razor knife and cut it to get it off, because these are hard seals. Now, the trick that I have to getting these on here, because these are hard nylon seals, they don't really want to go on there very easily. So what I do is I use a Bic pen, leave it the same, just pull the ink cartridge out and pull the cap off the end, and then use the tapered side on right here, if I can get it to focus. Friggin' there. So use the tapered side right here, stick your seal on there, and then work it down. And I'm gonna try and capture this, but I don't have my tripod here to hold my phone. So let me see if I can get this on video so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this, put the seal on here. You can see the seal right there, and then push it down, and it will stretch the seal out and get it to where you can get it onto the injector. So you just gotta work it down the shaft of the pin, and once you get it on there, you can slide it down the pin, and then get your fuel injector, stick it right against the face of the fuel injector, make sure you're lined up good, and then just push it onto the injector, and there you go. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace the final two that I have to replace, and then we'll go from there. All right, everybody, because I didn't have my tripod, it was really hard to try and film this. So I didn't really get any good footage of me putting it back together, but essentially you just need to line up the fuel injectors with the head, line up the two studs that are hanging out for the intake manifold, and get those on there. And then I just took my hand and tapped right on the back of the intake manifold to knock it down into place. And once you get it knocked down into place, and I tapped on both sides. So I tapped on the front of it and then on the back towards the firewall, and kept knocking it down until I got it in there. Put all the bolts in there and then ran them down in a crisscross pattern so that I could get it to pull in there evenly. Once I got that done, rotated the crankshaft a little bit to get the camshaft flat for the cam follower for the high pressure fuel pump. Put the cam follower back in there, mounted the high pressure fuel pump, and everything just went back together the way I took it apart. So I'm gonna go, I did get a couple codes because I disconnected stuff, and before I went to lose the prime on the fuel system. So you got to pull fuse number 3. At least on my car, it's fuse 3. You may have to look at it may be a different location on your car, but on this one it was fuse 3. Pull the fuse for the low pressure fuel pump, and then crank the car and let it run until it dies. And then once it dies, then you can disconnect the high pressure fuel pump. So I actually got a code because I had it running with 2 sensors disconnected, and I forgot that I had them disconnected. So now I got to clear the codes out. But once I do that, I'm going to take I'm probably going to drive from here over to Cincinnati and back. That way I can get about 40 miles on it and just see how it does. It was driving fine this morning, but it has the reason that I'm doing this work is because it has a P2187, which is a lean condition at idle. And when I was up here working on this thing last time, because I did the timing chains on this car when I was up here from a buddy's wedding. So I already knew that the intake manifold, where the throttle body bolted to the intake manifold, one of those bolts was a little wonky. And it looks like I may have to replace the valve cover because somebody has stripped out the bolts for the PCV. And I think that may be actually where the leak is coming from, the combination of the throttle body and the PCV system. I'm going to see if I can re-tap the holes in the head, but I may not be, or in the valve cover, but I may not be able to. I may have to replace the valve cover, which I'm really hoping I don't have to because it's not fun. But we'll see how it goes, and I'll pick back up after that. All right, guys, it's the next morning. I've been driving for about an hour and a half already, but I'm driving back to Georgia. I have a few other issues that I have to resolve with this car, which were known before I bought it. It's got a parking brake alarm and airbag alarm, and then one of the headlight range sensors, which is a level sensor that's on the suspension. I know for a fact the one in the rear is broken. I don't know if the one in the front is because I haven't had the car up in the air this weekend. So when I get back to Georgia, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run a scan on it because I didn't fly with all my software and tools and stuff. It's too much of a hassle. So when I get back to Georgia, I'm going to scan the car, clear what I can clear, reset what I can reset, and then I'm going to replace the level sensor, figure out all the rest of the little bugs that are in here, which aren't much, and I'll document all that while I'm doing that. But I'll pick back up when I get down to my house. I got about another 5 hours before I get there. Well, guys, my trip is not going good so far. I made it to the bottom of Kentucky. I'm about 10 miles away from Tennessee. And the car started running like shit. Started missing. And so I pulled off in Williamsburg, Kentucky, and came to an O'Reilly here. Had them run the codes. And I'm getting random cylinder misfires, number 2 and number 4 misfires. So I bought 2 coil packs, knowing damn good and well it wasn't going to fix it, but hoping that it would. And it appears that I need to replace the damn fuel injectors because I put 2 coil packs on there. I moved them all around. It doesn't matter. 2 and 4 always freaking misfire. And it sounds like it's freaking horrible on the other 2 as well. They're not missing all the time, but they are missing pretty regularly. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just ordered new fuel injectors. They'll be at my house tomorrow, but I'm still like 300 or 400 miles away from my house. So I got to figure this out. I may be limping this thing all the way back to Atlanta and hoping for the best. I honestly don't know what to do. I can't afford a tow truck from here because it's too damn expensive. It defeats the whole purpose of buying this car, because I bought this car because it was cheap. And this is not my brother's fault by any stretch of the imagination. I knew this car had problems when I bought it. That's why I got it so cheap. So I'm not in the least bit upset with him. I expected problems. I just didn't expect them until I got back to Georgia. So I'm a little stressed right now. I'm going to freaking sit here and gather my thoughts and figure out what I'm going to do. I may have to just let the car completely cool down, drive it as far as I can until it gets hot again, and then shut it down and just keep doing that. I may not get home until 1 or 2 in the morning now. But we'll see what happens, because I'm getting ready to go through the mountains, and I can't go through the mountains with this thing missing. I won't be able to go up any of the hills. So, or I may be taking back roads the whole way home, which will make this trip take freaking 12 hours probably. So I'm gonna look and see what I can do, and I'll update when I get wherever I'm going. All right, guys, so I've been limping this thing driving back, and I'm just outside of Chattanooga. I hope I don't mess this engine up from running it with a cylinder completely dead, because cylinder 2 is completely dead. So hopefully when I put the new fuel injector, I ordered new fuel injectors, they'll be at my house tomorrow, so hopefully when I put the new fuel injectors in there tomorrow, this thing will run right. If it doesn't, then I got bigger issues, and I'm gonna have to figure out what the hell's going on. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'll make it home with no further issues. All right, guys, I was able to get the car here. It was not easy. It was probably one of the most stressful drives I've ever made. Drove it all the way from the Tennessee state line down here to Atlanta, only running on one cylinder, or 2 cylinders. Sometimes it was 3, but most of the time it was 2 cylinders the whole freaking way here. Cylinder 2 and cylinder 4 misfiring like crazy. And when I was doing the fuel injectors, when I was replacing the intake manifold and I was doing the fuel injectors, doing the gas, the seals, I looked at them and they looked like they were okay, but they also looked like the heads may have had a little bit of damn deposits on it. I didn't clean them or anything, because I know you're not supposed to do that. And put them back in, and it ran fine for 220 miles. And then I don't know what the hell happened, but I've got new fuel injectors that are going to be here tomorrow, so I'll replace those. And it said it was giving me an alarm for the intake manifold flap, and I truly believe the only reason I was getting that alarm is because it was missing and it wasn't creating the correct vacuum to open the flap the right way. And it was missing, so it's not trying to open the flap unless it's under, I don't know what the conditions are to open the flap. It's either high RPM or low RPM. I can't remember which one opens it, but it's one way or the other. But with it missing and the way that I was having to drive, I had to keep this thing above 3,000 RPMs at all times. That was the only way I could get enough power for this thing to move under its own power. So I'm going to dig into this thing. I'm going to go ahead and pull the intake manifold back off because I need to have it ready for the fuel injectors. I'm probably not going to pull the intake manifold off until tomorrow when the injectors are here. That way I can still scan the rest of the systems, and I'm going to look over the rest of the car and figure out what else I need to do. Now, I do know that I already need to replace the headlight range sensor for the rear. I'm going to look at the front, see if I need to replace the front one. And then I've got a parking brake and airbag alarm, which, based off my research, is a very common problem on these cars. If you disconnect the hazard button and the passenger airbag off button with the key on, it will throw that alarm. And I don't know if my brother did that or not. So I need to just scan it and see what codes are showing up on that. But it's a very common problem from what I've been researching. So yeah, I'm gonna try and get all this knocked out, get this thing done so that I can go get it registered. Hopefully Tuesday I'm gonna be able to get this thing registered, but I got to get the mist fixed. So we'll see what goes. All right, guys, so before I get too carried away with anything, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the spark plugs. I would have done this when I was driving, but I didn't have any tools with me because I flew to Cincinnati. So we'll see how these look, but I'm gonna pull all 4 spark plugs and see what's going on with them, if anything. All right, so I don't know if my fuel injectors are gonna fix it, because now some people out here may like these spark plugs. I absolutely hate these things. I think they're the cheapest thing that was ever made, but these are auto light, and there is no way that I would ever put auto light in one of my cars. These things are freaking junk. That's an auto light spark plug. So this is the number 1 plug. Ashy, worn out. They definitely need to be replaced. This one is number 2. This is the one that had the biggest misfire. Look at how much of the tip is missing. It melted the tip. It looks like there's contamination inside of the cylinder, so I need to see if I can get a borescope down in there and see if there's anything wrong with the cylinder. This one looks like it's been running lean because of the hot ash. That's typically a sign that the engine's running lean on that cylinder. But again, they're all wore out. They're all, as far as my opinion, these things are all garbage spark plugs anyway to begin with, before they even got put in this car. So the only spark plugs that I run in this car are NGK or Denso. I tend to not do any other plugs in these cars, and I usually do the NGK Iridium plugs. All right, guys, so I just got done replacing the spark plugs in this thing. Made no difference. I'm wondering if maybe I had done that when I was in Tennessee before I drove it another 300 miles, if it wouldn't have at least made it run a little bit better. It doesn't feel like number 4 is missing like it was. Number 2 is dead. So I'm really, really hoping that that cylinder is not completely dead, because if it is, then I got to replace the freaking motor. And that defeats the purpose of buying this car as cheap as I did, because then I'll be right back at a full price car, and now I'll have a full price car with a salvage title instead of a freaking full price car with a clean title. The whole premise of buying this thing was because it was cheap, because it was a rebuilt title. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to wait until the fuel injectors get here tomorrow, replace the fuel injectors. Hopefully it starts running right, and then if it does, then I'll start fixing the other issues. But there's no point in fixing the other issues if I got to replace the engine. So it is what it is. It's the gamble I took. I knew it was a risk, so it is what it is. All right, guys, so I'm doing a compression test. That one had pretty good, so now I'm going to move on to cylinder 2, 3, and 4 and just see what we're doing. Well, cylinder 2 is dead. I don't know what to do, but that's all I was getting was 20 psi. Fuck. Let me check it again, but it doesn't sound like it's got any compression. And cylinder 3 is a little lower than cylinder 1, and number 4 has got good compression. So number 2 is completely dead. Not what I wanted to see. Now I got to find another motor, or I got to tear this one apart and figure out what happened to it. I really don't have time for this. I bought this car hoping I could, and now I don't know what I'm going to do, because I can't register this stupid thing until I get it fixed, because it has to pass emissions, and Georgia fines you if you don't transfer the title within a certain amount of days. So I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I don't have money to replace the engine in this fucking thing right now. And I think I'm the reason why cylinder 2 is dead, because I didn't change it. I didn't have any tools with me, and I couldn't change that freaking spark plug, and I think it killed the freaking cylinder from damn misfiring for freaking 400 miles. Let this be a lesson to everyone. Don't drive your car when it misfires. Freaking shut it off and tow it. I know better than to do that, but I was so far away from home and I didn't have enough money to tow it that I just took a gamble, and apparently I lost. So it is what it is. Now I got to figure out what the hell I'm going to do. Well, I feel defeated now. Pretty pissed off at myself for what I'm pretty sure I caused. It's supposed to be a good freaking time, and now I'm back in the same damn boat that I've been in. And it's my own fault. I should have freaking known better. But anyway, that's probably where I'm going to end the video, because I'm really pissed off right now and I don't know what I'm going to do. So, shit. I don't know. Anyway, if this video helped you out in any way, like always, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Let your friends see what I'm doing. Not this, well, I mean, let them see this so that they don't make the same damn stupid ass mistake I made. Shit. Anyway, I'll have an update on the Veloster soon. It has been raining here for almost a month straight. This is the first weekend that it hasn't rained in a month. And went to go pick this car up, hoping that I would be able to register it freaking Tuesday and start driving it Wednesday. And yeah, that's not gonna happen. So shit, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm super stressed out now. I just not wasted, but I just spent money I didn't have to get a car that I thought was going to be able to get me to work more reliably than my other car, because I mean I've already put 160,000 miles on my 2.7 since I swapped it, and I never intended to drive that car more than 60,000 miles over the next 25 years. So I'm destroying that car. Bought this one so that I could drive it as my daily and not tear up my 2.7, and now I can't even drive this one. So I don't know. I got to regroup and figure out what I'm going to do. But like always, appreciate y'all tuning in. I'll catch you in the next video. Have a great one.